I'm gonna set it. I'm gonna make that motherfucker super dope.
I know you will. All right, so let's see. We
Make
got it
sure my
here.
time machine is timing.
We got it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. On this episode, we are going back. We are going back to 1988, the greatest year in hip hop. And we're going to talk about one of the most incredible albums from that year. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back from Public Enemy. And as you can see from the title, I'm not doing this episode alone. Once again, back in the building. I mean, the man needs no introduction. I mean, Eclectik is back in the building. E, what up, baby?
What's up, man? I appreciate you having me here. It's nice to be in the studio. And how are you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. How about you? What's up with you?
Well, we had a disaster here at the Eclectik Studios, but, but we're gonna talk about that at a later date. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to talk this album. I have on my black Wranglers. Um, my Pittsburgh Pirate hat. So
There you go.
So let's get it popping.
Hey, you know what's funny, man? I thought about this. This album is probably one of the few albums that you and I have never talked about on a podcast. At least as far as I can remember, because I don't think we talked about it on the 12 radio show when I had 12 radio show back in 2010. I don't think we've talked about it on your podcast. I know we've talked about Public Enemy as a group, but we've never, in fact, as big a fan as I am of Public Enemy, I've never talked about or done an album review of any of their albums on this episode. So this is, it's rare for us to have first because we've done so many episodes together. But yeah, man, this is the first. I thought about this probably about an hour ago. I was like, I don't think me and you have ever talked about this. So yeah, we're taking it back, man. June 28th, 1988. As I mentioned, man, in my opinion, my humble opinion, 1988, the greatest year in hip hop, man. We're talking about It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, the sophomore album from Public Enemy. So let's start there, E. I mean, we know 1988 was an incredible year. As I mentioned, it was Public Enemy's sophomore album, their first album. Okay.
Where I go?
I had a dope intro and you disappeared.
I didn't do it on purpose.
I know it's all good. It's all good.
I was vibing. I was listening to you. I'm like, go get that shit. And then the shit said, "Hey, you want to go into the studio?" I'm like, I was in the studio.
Right.
And then it recorded that though, right? Yeah, just pick up where you left off.
Yeah. So as I was saying, I mean, this is Public Enemy's sophomore album. There is no sophomore jinx. As I mentioned, 1988, the greatest year in hip hop. Mm-hmm. So we're coming on the heels of Yo Bum Rush the Show. So E, I want to go, before we start talking about this album, I want to go back. What are your memories of first Yo Bum Rush the Show, and then maybe if you, and I know you were younger in 1988, what you thought It Takes a Nation of Millions would sound like, and then ultimately what you heard.
All right, see, now that's a lot. Now
I know.
Now here's the thing, mm-hmm. and like you said, this is one album we haven't really discussed, which is kind of
Mhm.
crazy. Um,
I know, right?
now, listen, everyone. Um, First, all right, let me answer your questions this way. I am the only person that you know that you're gonna have on your show that you've been introduced to and all of that who enjoys Yo Bum Rush the show over It Takes a Nation of Millions.
This is true because I don't
Yo
know how that's possible.
Yo Bum Rush the show is my favorite Public Enemy album. It is higher up in my list of albums than Nation of Millions. I understand Nations of Millions is great, and everyone props it up as being the most influential hip hop album, even though it's not. This is what I'll tell you guys. Fight the Power is an influential song,
Hmm.
but Nations of Millions is a super dope album, but that album didn't necessarily influence people to do anything. Now,
Okay. Okay.
Rebel Without a Pause, I would argue that Rebel Without a Pause, Black Steel Now or Chaos, and Don't Believe the Hype influenced groups to do some songs or influence production more so than it was everybody when they got their koofies. Fight the power. Anyway, Yo Bum Rush the Show came out. I love Yo Bum Rush the Show.
Hmm.
Yo Bum Rush the Show has my second, third. It's either second. I think it's my second favorite hip hop song. No, it's my third favorite hip hop song of all time.
Got to be third. Okay.
My Uzi Weighs a Ton is my third favorite hip hop
Uzi
song
weighs a
ever
ton.
ever
Hmm.
created. So I love the album. Um, they were crazy with it. And when you ask what did I expect on Nation of Millions, I expected more of Yo Bum Rush the Show,
Okay.
but Nations of Millions does not sound like Yo Bum Rush the Show.
At all.
And I'm gonna tell you, when it dropped, I was a little disappointed.
Really?
I listened to the album. Nah, this is dope, but nah, where throw it down your throat like Barkley.
Barkley.
Where where is where is my '98 Oldsmobile? Where is that? That was like soup. See, that's the Yo Bones the Show was Public Enemy, but it was hip hop Public Enemy. It was hip
Hmm.
hop block party, still streets a little bit Public Enemy, still talking some shit Public Enemy. And Nations of Millions was Nations of Millions was Public Enemy after they heard by all means necessary. It was like, oh
That's
yeah,
fair. That's
yeah,
fair.
we gotta talk about some more shit. And but overall, obviously it's a good album. I think that um Nations has more filler than Yo Bones Show, but it's
Okay.
longer anyway.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah. It and it's funny, man, because I remember just thinking like kind of like you, like I was thinking that it was going to be an extension. And if you listen to, the first album, Yo Bum Rush the Show, and then you listen to It Takes a Nation of Millions, if you're a Public Enemy fan, like I was at that particular time, like both albums they're polar opposites, but still dope nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thing that I remember was me and my boys were just really, really, really excited to hear this album. Like, and just for you guys listening, you know, in 1988, there is no such thing as a rollout. Like you might get a couple of songs or whatever like that before the album comes out, but there's no rollout. There's no, I mean, so you just know that, hey, the album is out. There's actually nobody on radio telling you that the album is out. You just go to the record store and you happen to see that it's there. You know what I'm saying? And so for most of us who enjoyed Yo Bum Rush's show, and it's funny because I chuckle when E said that he enjoys it more than the first album. Well, he enjoys the first album more than he does this album. Um, I think that was a very that was a sentiment initially from a few Public Enemy fans. And I think that's fair, particularly if you understand how in which and where Public Enemy stood at that particular time. But this album was phenomenal. In my personal opinion, it's one of the best albums to come out in 1988. Is one of the seminal albums in hip hop history. Again, released June 28th, 1988. Runtime of 57, almost let's say 58 minutes. Of course, you got
Just
Chuck.
said hour.
right. Of course, you got Chuck D, Flavor Flav, the S1Ws, Terminator X, the DJ. So this album is crazy. So let's
Hold
get
on,
right
and
into it.
that's another thing. Before we get into it, that's
Mhm.
another thing. Yo Bum versus Show had 50% more Flav than Nations of
Yeah,
Millions.
yeah.
Flav was rhyming on Yo Bum versus Show, and he became really the hype man on Nations of Millions.
He did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
he was. And I wonder
Griff
if
was
he was a
talking more. Everybody, it was a group. It was a for real group on Your Bum versus Show. And then when you got to Nations of Millions, it was basically the Roots and Black Thought with a little bit of Flav.
you stupid. No, I think yeah, Flav was rapping less on this album, but I think his style, his flavor, if you will, was still on point, and it was a very seminal piece of what Public Enemy presents. As I mentioned, June 28th, 1988. This album was critically acclaimed. And for the record, until I actually looked it up, like I don't know how many albums this record sold. Because honestly, in 1980, we didn't care about that stuff. I mean,
Mm-mm.
nobody cares about it. I mean, you wanted a dope album,
I
and
still
that's
don't
what.
care.
No, yeah, I still don't care. I mean, if it's sold platinum, okay, cool, but whatever. Um, Before we even get into breaking down the tracks, what did you think about the production on this album? Because the production of this album is something I think sonically that you can examine for future generations. What did you think about the production of this album by the legendary Bomb Squad?
Well, I think that is the one thing that did continue
Mm-hmm.
from Yo Bum versus Show, because that the beats and the sounds that you heard from them, period, incredible. Like, and this is the best way I can put it.
Mm-hmm.
In 86, 87, 88, this is when you still had your radio out and you still bumping stuff on the block. um and then the people who maybe did some hand-to-hand sales had some vehicles with loud systems. um but
Of course,
I
of
can
course.
so the best thing that I can tell you about the production is they're one of the it's about maybe 3 acts, maybe 3 or 4 acts around that time when someone was down the block, you knew who it was.
Facts.
You knew when you heard some wing, wing. Oh, that's Public Enemy. They,
Right.
they playing Public Enemy. You can hear them from blocks and blocks and blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So and that continued on from Yo Bum Rush Show. And ironically, I think, except for maybe a little bit of the album after that, it went away.
It did. It did. And I don't even really know why, but it did. You didn't really. You got it on the first 3 albums, from Public Enemy, Yo Bum vs. Show. It Takes a Nation of Millions, and the third album was Fear of a Black Planet.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth album was Apocalypse Now. I mean, Apocalypse 91 or something like that. I kind of slipped a little bit, but that first three album run started off with Yo Bum Rush Show, and then obviously this album. It's tough, man. It's tough. You'd be hard pressed to find another group or hip hop act, particularly at that particular time, to have had a better three album run.
And if and no bullshit,
Mhm,
if you want to really give them they just desserts, they just propers,
mhm,
they even had a better 3 album run. They had Yo Bum Rush the Show,
mhm,
Takes the Nations of Millions to Hold Us Back,
mhm.
and The Great Adventures of Slick Rick. The Bomb Squad did that whole album.
Yeah,
A lot of
it,
people don't know that because it didn't sound like a
it
Public
did
Enemy album,
exactly.
and it came out the same year.
And then they lend their talents to Ice Cube on America Cuz. And you know what, E? Maybe you're touching on something that I hadn't really thought about until just now. Maybe that's why. Maybe the Bomb Squad, kind of moving around.
It's like, yeah, we doing songs for Son of Berserk. Well, fuck that.
Exactly. So, you just never know. Um, so yeah, the production is crazy. So let's get into the tracks, man. This is a long album, technically by hip hop standards at that particular time, but a dope album nonetheless. It starts off with an interlude, which is a live version. It's called Countdown to Armageddon. Um, and that is a minute and 40 seconds. And I think it's a good template to set off the album. Then they get into track two.
Before
Bring
you get
the
to track 2,
Okay, go ahead.
everyone that's listening to this, I mean, I'm assuming that you're listening to it because you want to reminisce and think
Of
back on
course, of course.
the good. But maybe some of you are just now, wow, hearing about this album, and maybe you were doing your due diligence and saying, you know what, everyone says it's dope. Let me find out all the information I can about it, and so you seek out the 12 Cal podcast. Salutes to you.
Facts.
Um, the first track, the little intro, Countdown to Armageddon,
Hmm.
was the working title of the album. It was going to be called Countdown to Armageddon and not It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. So
Wow.
I thought that maybe people didn't know that. Maybe they should know that.
I was today years old when I found that out. Wow, I didn't know that. So I wonder what made them change it. Huh.
I think they had a vote and that one won. But
Okay.
the
Okay.
the early the early in the beginning it was going to be called Countdown to Armageddon, which is a dope ass name for an
Yeah.
album, by the
Hell
way.
yeah. Hell yeah. Um, then we get into track two. Bring the Noise. What did you think about Bring the Noise?
This listen, there's a few songs that they could have used to properly kick off this album, and
Mhm.
but just the beginning of the Malcolm X, the Too Black, Too Strong, and then just Flav. Flav, listen, man, Flav didn't want the honey drippers fronting on him, man, and so and you gotta give Chuck his props. Look,
Mhm.
if people don't respect Chuck's lyrical ability, that's fine. I guess you're missing out,
You slipping.
but he will always kill it with the first line.
Hmm.
So bass, how low can you listen? That is iconic, and he always does it. Yes, the rhythm, the rebel, the first line. Chuck D is on the master of the first line.
Yes.
And also as we get into this, I'd be remiss if I didn't make this statement, which most people don't know, but if you don't know, I'm going to tell you now.
Okay.
It is almost physically impossible to rhyme a Public Enemy song without the Chuck D voice.
Yeah, you can't do it.
It's almost physically impossible. Like you could just be like, nah, he says radio. So, no, it's radio.
Suckers never play me. All the mix, they just okay me.
Yeah, if you don't say it that way, it's like, man, shut up. So
Yeah, it's because Chuck D has one of the, and I think we talked about this. I think we talked about this on a fantasy draft on your podcast. He has one of the most iconic voices in music, not just hip hop. And I think what's always interesting is, to your point, Chuck D's never mentioned when people talk about, oh, who's your top 5, top 10 lyricists. He's never mentioned, but when you go back and listen to what he was talking about, his vocal tones, his inflection, he should be mentioned because he delivers, like you said, his lines and his bars so eloquently. And I mean, like, he doesn't waste any time, and he's very easily even if you didn't listen to rap, you could listen to Chuck D and be like, okay, I follow where he's going. So no, you're right on that. His first lines are incredible.
and he might have been. And listen, I can't give this to him, but he might have been. He definitely was at least one of the first people to ever give us in hip hop the Police's 5-0.
Yeah.
Because remember, this
you're right.
5-0 said freeze, and I got numb. And the dope thing about slang back then and all of those things is we were smart enough to listen and take it in context. So like, well, we don't know what 5-0 is, but who else would have said freeze?
Exactly.
And made him get numb.
Exactly.
Like, oh, that's all right, 5-0's police. We got it. No one had to tell us what it was. He just said, not 5-0 said freeze. Can I tell him that I really never had a gun? Oh my God.
And it makes sense. It's like, it's not like, and I'm not even gonna dump on, this generation, but I mean, like, a lot of times we hear people make up stuff and it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? Like the slang, sometimes the slang don't make sense.
Right.
This was stuff that made actual sense.
Well, because see, the thing is, if you were a nerd like me, back then you listen to it, and you're like, 5-0 said freeze, and the guy, I'm like, "I was this cop? Why is that the cop?" And then I'm chilling, and I'm like, I got it. Hawaii 5-0. Come on, man. Look, what are we doing?
Exactly. Then the next track, the phenomenal, the incredible, Don't Believe the Hype, with a special appearance by the media assassin Harry Allen. What you got on this one, man? I love this joint.
Well, first, after this came out, we immediately made the song "Don't Forget to Wipe Your Ass." We were idiots.
Why did I know you was gonna say that?
We were idiots. But
clowns.
This joint was so dope because, again, Chuck D back because you're looking for the same thing. Just those first lines, it's
crazy, right?
But one of my favorite things was he was like, I got flavor and all those things. He's like, yeah, boy, part 2 bum rushing show. I'm like, yeah, we here. Oh man, no, man. Some perpetrating drink Clorox.
Yeah, drinking Clorox in 1980 was not the move.
No.
I mean, it's not the move in 2023 either, but yeah, man, it's crazy because it's like hearing that. I don't know, man. It makes me realize, like, and we're talking about this album turning 35. It does, and I know I say this all the time. It doesn't feel like it's a 35-year-old album. It just doesn't. I mean, from start to finish. This album still feels, and I will admit, this is an album that I still keep in my rotation, that I listen to at least a couple of times a month. Um, Now I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Track 4, I had no idea that my friend over here, uh, I think we were talking about something, and this dude really told me like this is his favorite track on the album. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're eclectic. You're Mr. Hip Hop. You're Mr. Lyricism. How is it that if I deem this the best album in 1988, how is it that you think a song that doesn't feature Chuck D?
I guarantee you, no more music by the suckers.
So talk to me about Cold Lamping with Flavor, man.
Man, listen. So here's the thing. As I was discussing earlier, Yo Bum Rush's show had a lot of Flav on it. And Flav was so different than anybody in hip hop before, after, since, period. And so when you get to this album, and he get a solo song, I was just as hype as he was. He was like, yo, Flavor going solo. Your boy got a solo. I'm like, wait a minute. He got a solo? And so one, it has the Bomb Squad track. And Flav, you got to understand. So I don't think we only had like a little bit of Biz. We had a little bit of Biz Markie. We didn't have a lot of the mainstream, also dope, funny shit. We had funny shit, but it's like, that's not dope. They just
right, just clowning.
Yeah. But he has some stuff on this song. I'm gonna tell you, he sold me on the first verse. He said it was going to the Poconos. They call the hideaways, a pack of Franks and a big bag of Frito-Lays.
Big bag of Frito-Lays.
No one's ever called them Frito-Lays. A pack of Franks.
Ever.
Man, I'm dying when I hear this song. I'm like, this is so dope.
I mean, it's Flav. It's 100% Flav.
He gave us the classic flavor, Flav, and I mean, he did a lot of firsts. That was the first time anyone said sarsaparilla on a rap. I mean, you're eating dirt because you like getting dirt from the graveyard. You put gravy on it. Then you pick your teeth with tombstone chips, casket cover clips, dead woman hips you do the bump with. Hey, listen, I knew that whole song.
He will rap this whole song.
We got Magnum Brown, Shushki Poluski, Supercatcher Frederick SBL Asuski. You can put that in your Don't Know What You Said book. Took, look, yuk, took, wook.
Listen, this song makes no sense.
Absolutely not. But
it makes no sense.
He's lamping.
But it is a dope ass song.
Flavor Flav, the flavor of all flavors. Onion and garlic, French fried potatoes. I love this song.
Man, listen. This song, I mean, like, I remember the first time I heard it, I just sat there like, okay. And then, like, after I kept hearing, playing it more and more on the tape, because I had the tape. I didn't have the CD. Because I don't even think CDs were out back then. And if they were, I couldn't afford them. But it was so dope, man. It was vintage Flav. You know what I'm saying? And that was so funny to me, like I said, years later, talking to this guy. We were just, I can't remember where we were or what we were talking about. He was like, oh yeah, that's my favorite song on the album.
I love this song.
And I was like, how? Like, and it's not, and when I say it how, it wasn't as if I hate the song, because I love this is my favorite album of '88. So
I don't think it's the best song. It is
No, it's
my
not the best song,
favorite song.
but it's your favorite song. Okay.
It's my favorite song.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Then we get to track 5, Terminator X to the Edge of Panic. What you got on this joint?
Honestly,
I think I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say this is a filler song.
skip.
Really?
Skip.
I don't skip this one.
Nah, I'm all right.
I love
this. This
I
is
like,
why.
no, I love it. I'm sorry, I like it.
Why. Oh, now you love everything, but this is why I put Yo Bum Rush the Show ahead because there's tracks as dope as this album is.
Uh-huh.
There's tracks that I'm like, all right, man. And
And
this is the first one,
That happened.
but it's so many on this album though.
I don't think so.
We're gonna get to them.
Yeah, we'll get to them. Okay.
All right. So that's one for me.
So track 6, Mind Terrorist. It's more of an interlude.
Skip.
It's a minute and 21 seconds.
I don't need it.
Well, see, here's the thing, E. In 88,
Yes.
your ass couldn't skip shit.
Well, I know.
Exactly. That's
I know. That's when I went to go. I went and got some more Kool-Aid.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, this is okay. So then we get see where to go get more Kool-Aid.
Yeah, when I got Kool-Aid.
This dude right here, boy, I tell you. Then we get to track 7, Louder Than a Bomb. I love it. Wait a minute. Was this the joint where he said, "Who gives a fuck about a goddamn Grammy"?
No.
Or was that Terminator on the Edge of Panic? I can't remember which song it's on, but I love that line. Who gives a fuck about a goddamn Grammy? And we've been saying this since 1988. and y'all still worried about why Beyonce can't get a Grammy. Who gives a fuck about a goddamn Grammy? Anyway, Mind Terrorist, man. What you got on that one?
It was just okay.
You ain't like it?
No.
I'm sorry, not the Mind Terrorist. I'm sorry, Louder Than a Bomb.
Louder Than a Bomb. I mean, it was good. You know, this seems wild. Wait before you treat me like a stepchild.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you why they got me on fire.
Wow.
It's okay. I know when it was this album and songs like this are victims of how dope Bring the Noise and Don't Believe the Hype is.
Okay.
So it's like when you have 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5, and then you drop a 2.5, it's like, all right, man, I guess.
Yeah,
like, what am I supposed to do with this?
This may be one that you have to go back and rescore. Then we get to track 8, Caught. Can we get a witness? I want to say this is the first time we hear Professor Griff. Am I correct?
On this album, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But
what'd you think about this one?
It's all right.
I like that joint.
I mean, I like Flay's part. You can't copyright no beats, man.
And that was interesting because at that particular time,
but you really can.
Well, yeah, you can. But at that particular time, that's when rap or hip hop started getting into the discussion of whether or not it was more of a sampling issue.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw later, with Biz Markie, that sampling became something where, people were like, no, hell no. If you take my music, you got to pay me for it. Because, the earlier records, man, they just, they snatched a James Brown beat and put it on there and rap over it and wouldn't think twice about it. Nobody knew about publishing and all kind of shit like that. So
also, I mean, that is true, but also the bigger issue was the populace, the masses, the people that they were sampling from didn't give a shit about hip hop and thought it was just a fad anyway, so they didn't care. They're like, whatever, let them do this. All right, cool, whatever. And then once it started blowing up and they was making going on tours and making me like, wait, what? Nah, that's my money too. That's
Right,
I want
right.
some of that. And so that then then the move was to hide the sample
Mm-hmm.
and chop it up and disguise it so much. This is why a lot of DJs had blank labels on their album so people couldn't steal their cuts. And then when you start sampling, like you don't know what this is, and
Exactly.
and and then Biz Marquis' "I Need a Haircut" came
Yep.
out, and he didn't clear shit. And listen,
Changed the
and don't put
game.
it on him. It wasn't him.
No, it wasn't all his
It
fault.
was the people that produced. He didn't produce those tracks,
Right.
and so, but yeah, that's and that's just crazy. That's why the sample. Sorry,
You good?
called called some them boys, but
This dude.
the the sampling thing. That's why Tribe Called Quest gets no money from Can I Kick It?
Yo, I heard that probably about a month or so ago.
Wait a minute,
I didn't know that.
you don't be paying attention to shit.
For real.
But yeah,
I did not know.
yeah. So because Walk on the Wild Side,
Yep.
and they were like, look, you can redo the song or give me this money for the. And they were like, all right, shit, you can have that one. They didn't know that that was gonna be their signature song.
Exactly. And I'm sure that song made a bunch of money. And then for them not to get a dime from it, that's crazy. But I
But
mean, you're learning. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop is at this particular time, you can kind of say it's still in its infancy, if you will. It's a toddler,
yeah,
basically.
I mean, because yeah, you're talking about sampling. Even you look at Rapper's Delight, it's just an instrumental of a song that's already out.
Yep. And they
So
rap for 18 minutes on that damn song.
yeah,
So then we get to track 9, well, which would be the B side, if you will. And that would be Show 'em What You Got, which was kind of like an interlude. PE had a few interludes on this song, I mean,
yeah,
on this
skip,
album.
yeah,
Um,
skip,
this guy's to
skip.
skip. Then we get to the next track. She watched Channel Zero. She
Now
watched,
you're
she watched,
talking.
she watched, she
You're
watched, she
blind,
watched, she watched.
baby. You're blind from the fact of who you are because you're
She's
watching that
watching that
garbage.
garbage. What'd you think about this one?
This is my shit because listen, when they let Flav, when they let Flav be Flav, it makes the songs better. Yo, you you can't be coming in here stagnating like that.
Stagnating.
You know what I'm saying? Yo, we're getting ready to watch the Super Bowl, and we got a black
That
quarterback.
quarterback step back.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
vintage Flav, man.
I got
Vintage
the
Flav.
Tyson fight on.
Yeah, and it's funny, man, because like now we can equate watching Channel Zero to reality TV
hmm I
because
mean, he
that's
was
what it
kind of
is.
talking about that. It was talking about to watch his soap operas, which is the same
Yeah,
thing.
same thing. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, to me, Channel Zero is. I mean, as someone who does not watch um, reality TV, yeah, it's Channel Zero all day. I love this song.
Trouble
Um,
vision for a sister because I know she don't know. I quote, her brain's been trained by a 24
24
inch
inch
remote.
remote. Yes, sir. Then the next track, Night of the Living Bassheads. I know you didn't skip this track.
No. And again, so here's the thing. I will say
Okay.
this. One, it has the Chuck D. Here it is. Bam.
Bam.
And you say, look, the
Well,
first
God
line,
damn.
this is a dope
This is a dope jam.
And then, but let's define the term called dope. And you think it mean funky now? Nope. But so that's already dope. And and I love the track is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um everything about it is dope. Here is the only thing that
Oh.
listen. they played that video
Come on, man.
every
You
15
come
minutes.
on, man. Come on,
And
E.
with Chris Thomas saying it, and this is what was it? Mary, this is Mary,
This-
and this is the pot.
this is drugs.
Yeah, and so it was just I just got tired of seeing the
Come
video
on, E. Come
and
on.
hearing the song, the video, and it made the song like, all right, man. It turned it into, um, it turned it into, parents just don't understand. Like
Uh-huh.
when it dropped, that song was crazy, and then it was like, oh, now it's on in Sears. I'm
Right,
tired.
right, right.
I'm tired of the song. But other than that, super dope song. Um, Quasi iconic video, even if it had MC Light in it. Um,
How dare you?
I'm just saying, no, it's pretty good.
Listen, I think the
See it on
video,
their faces.
I think the video enhanced it. I mean, you had Chuck D, African Bambaataa outside of the Audubon ballroom where Malcolm X was assassinated. You had MC Light, you had Cheryl and Flav was going. I mean, folks, listen. When you finish this podcast, if you have not seen the video for Night of the Living Bassheads, go watch it. It is so dope. It is still dope 35 years later. I promise you.
What was the what was the thing that fucking Flav said on the news break?
Um,
Not gonna save him, but
oh, no, he said, yo,
he was on the
they got my
phone.
man Chuck. He's like, you ain't gonna free him, and you ain't gonna go see him either.
Oh man, he snatched his
Red
glasses
Alert,
off and
Red
looked
Alert.
at her
Yep, Red Alert was in the video. Yep.
on PETV.
Yep.
Oh, and
Shit,
what's
yeah.
the name? Um,
Who?
because it was just in this Red Alert, and Red Alert
Yep.
handed her the paper.
Red Alert. Yep. Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
but you're forgetting about the beepers commercial. Hey, yo, I'm not a
Oh, yeah, the
drug
people.
dealer, man.
And you know what? That was very prophetic because I like the fact that they now keep in mind this video, and if my memory serves me correctly, this video is about 5.5 minutes long. And in
Yeah.
TV, that's a long time to have a video on. But the flip side of it is that
beeper tie.
yeah, beeper ties. And you know, back then it was assumed that if you had a beeper, you were a drug dealer. So I like the way they addressed that, man. I love that video, man. I love the song, but I love the video even more.
And
The
maybe it was
Oh,
just
go
the
ahead, go
fact that maybe it was the fact that they just kept showing it, and it was so long. It was like,
and to your point, you're right. It did.
Chris Thomas, this is Lucy.
It got
This
a
is
lot
Lucy's
of
wash
play.
pot.
And the kids are going crazy. Yeah, it to your point, it got a lot of airplay. I mean, like it was one of the few videos at that particular time that got you see it on Rap City and Video Soul and Yo MTV.
Yeah.
So it got around.
I will also say that he had, and I think that was the first time I ever saw the silver Raider starter. Because everybody had the black Raider starter, but he had the silver Raider starter.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, that's nasty.
Yeah, Chuck was killing it. Then the next track, which happens to be my favorite song on the entire album, Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos. What you got on that song?
Well, I'm not going to put too much on this because this is a story rhyme and it's going to appear at some point on this list.
There you go. And hold on. Where's the list?
The list is over on the Encyclopedia Hip Hop Podcast. We're counting down the top 50 story rhymes
There you
of
go.
the dope era. We're not Stan is not on there. We're not doing that shit. We're doing some dope shit. But um just in case you just in case you came over hoping for hoping for some Stan and it ain't
I
happening,
mean,
Captain.
Stan. Well, nah, Stan can't make top 50.
Nah, not Dear Shady. We're not doing that. But
Dear
this
shit.
song, this song is fucking great.
Mm-hmm.
And you wasn't really expecting this from them. But then when you realize what this album's about, it kind of makes sense. But I mean, it's a lot. It's a hey man, he popped a check.
Yes, I love it. I love
Well,
man.
now I will say this about, and this is just me, ladies and
Uh-huh.
gentlemen. I have a knack for quoting hip hop songs and in my
Same.
everyday conversation, and even when I'm by myself. And one of the most one of the things I say the most comes from the most nonsensical part of this song that I am
Uh-oh.
sure that I say weekly. I'm
Okay.
like, so anytime I'm confused about something or I'm
Uh-huh.
wondering about something,
Mhm.
I always say the bazooka was who?
What the bazooka was?
Who the bazooka was who? Like what the Chuck, what are you
And to
talking
my
about?
rescue, it was an S. What I don't know. Maybe Flav
But
wrote that bar.
but ever since that song came out, when I was young, anytime somebody says something, I'd be like, wait a minute, the bazooka was who?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, man. I love this song. I love the video. Um, like I said, it's my favorite song on the album. Um, yeah, I'm interested because
Also,
go ahead, go ahead.
they got the Chuck. I got a letter from the government the
First
other
line.
day.
First
Listen,
line.
now again, please understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that um uh Edge of Panic, Mind Terrorist, Louder Than a Bomb, Can I Get a Witness, Show 'em What You Got are bad songs. But you don't have those first line Chuck D
No, you
joints
don't.
in
You don't.
those. And
You
that's
don't.
listen, this solid man. Don't hear what I'm not saying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you make a good point. You make a good point. I can't. It's not a debatable point for me. I can't debate you on that.
And we actually got this joint off one day. I forget what year it was,
Uh-huh.
but it had to be like 90 or something. Me and my man was chilling in the living room. This is only for people that love hip hop and love like this album, these songs.
Hmm.
We was chilling and talking, and the mail came.
Okay.
I I grabbed it, man. We was talking, was rapping, and I grabbed the man. And I looked at the thing. I looked at the envelope, and I threw it down. I was like, "Suckers!" He just busted out laughing because he understood. It wasn't a letter from the
Damn.
government, but I
It
did.
wasn't like right, right.
I opened the envelope
Right.
and I
Said it
looked
was
at it
suckers.
like suckers, and he was the only person that was gonna get it. Nobody else was gonna get that.
And that's how it is sometimes, though. That's how, especially when you're with your friends and you both share a love for hip hop. Um,
That's how you can find your people.
oh, no question, hands down. Um, but yeah, that's again my favorite song on the album. Um, probably it might be my favorite PE song. Um,
I
love that
liked how
song.
it. I liked how his math worked too,
Hmm.
because it was 53.
Yeah, three brothers on the run, and this song is 6 minutes long, which is incredibly long. Um,
I
they
wish
did it.
the song. I wish the real song would have ended like it does on the video.
Oh, the video's cold, man. The video's cold. The video's cold as hell. Damn, love the video. Um, Then the next song after that, Security of the First World, which is more of an interlude. It's a minute and 20 seconds.
Skip.
This guy. Then we get to a Bomb Squad staple, Rebel Without a Pause. What you got on that joint?
Now this, I believe, is the best song on the album.
Okay.
Again, Chuck the intro. First line, yes.
The rhythm,
The
Rebel.
rebel. Without a pause, I'm lowering my this song, this is, as far as I'm concerned, I know a lot of people will point to Fight the Power as
Mhm.
the quintessential Public Enemy song. I
Right.
say this is Public Enemy. This has Chuck killing it. This has
Mhm.
Flav on the ad libs. He don't understand this, man. You got to slow down. You losing them. And then, and this, you know what? You know what else? And what else? And why this is the quintessential Public Enemy joint? Because not only do you get the classic Chuck D first line,
Mhm.
he give it to you on the second verse. Radio suckers never play me. On the mix, they just okay me. They just okay me. It's so fucking dope to me. Look, it was what school was that? I think it had to be right when this came out.
Okay.
And and we was trying to talk to some chick, and she wasn't giving us no love. And well, not us, me. I could be honest with her. We're all friends,
Of
and
course.
because you would go and be like, yo, such and such over there. Like, all right, let me go over there and see what's popping. And you
Right.
go over, and she like, nah, no number or nothing.
Nothing.
And I go back and like, yo, what happened? I was like, she just okayed me.
She just okayed me.
Hey man, but everybody who understood.
Yeah. And then
Uh,
you didn't have to explain.
Oh my god, man! This brings back so many memories. Um, yeah, that because all that stuff really happened.
Oh yeah. And that's what makes it so dope, man, because you could have instances like that and it just takes you back just off of hearing one bar. She okayed me. And I don't think anybody else in hip hop has ever said radio suckers never play me. On the mix, they just okay me. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? I mean, and what he was saying was Public Enemy at that time couldn't get any airplay on the radio. Even with all the success from Yo Bum Rush's show, they weren't going to be featured on, any radio stations,
and and
just on the mix.
that extends to what you were saying earlier about when people are talking about their favorites and goats, and they don't mention Chuck D. It's like such and such. Rock Kid cares. Well, what about Chuck D? He okay.
Yeah.
They just okay him. Like, nah, yeah, he okay.
Facts. 1,000%. And that's all they do. Just okay him. Um,
You want to
then
be
the
an S1 Griffith, tell you
tell you
when.
when.
Hey man, oh my god, I love that song.
Then the next song, I think you probably skipped this. Prophets of Rage.
Man, get out of here, man.
I
Skip.
like it. I like
Oh, Rebel Without a Pause is the last dope song on this album.
it.
The last song is basically something to dance to.
Okay. And the album concludes with Party for Your Right to Fight. My friend
Something
over
to
here,
dance to first. This came out before something to dance to, but it might as well be something to dance to.
my friend over here is not a fan of this song. Um, it is the one skip for me on this album. But again, I told you guys at the beginning, I had the tape. So, by this time, I've listened to, if it's 58 minutes, I done gave you, I've been here for 55. So, like, I just let it play, man. It's okay. It's just okay.
You
I know
just
you
okayed it, but
would.
but, nah. I look a lot. This was what was good about this album. It
Mhm.
was so many Kool-Aid and bathroom breaks that
This dude.
because of course we had to tape. So that song would come on. You like, all right, well, mom's there, so I had to clean up. So let me clean up while this is on before my jam come on. And then like when you get to this joint, which is the last song, you're like, well, that's the end of the tape. I could just fast forward or
Mhm.
just flip it over and rewind to the beginning of the tape. I don't need to listen to
Exactly.
this, you know.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, this was I think was a throw in. I wouldn't be surprised if the record label had him, put this on. Um, it's okay. Again, it's not. I mean, when I went from tapes to CDs, this was a song that I skipped. But and that concluded the album. Again, 35. I mean, it's crazy to think about this album turning 35 years old. Um, but before we get out of here, I gotta ask you, man.
yes, 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 yes.
This album,
Mm-hmm.
in many hip hop circles, is
Mm-hmm.
lauded as and if you're watching on YouTube, I'm putting in quotation marks, classic
Mm-hmm.
album. Um, I don't think, and I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going off the top. I don't think that it was originally reviewed by the Source magazine. But if you were rating this album, what do you think you would have given it as far as a Source rating, 1 to 5 mics in 1988? And what would you give it some 35 years later in 2023?
Okay, so this is what I'm going to say. In '88,
Mm-hmm.
88, it's a 4 mic album.
Okay.
In 2023, we're going to give it 2023, we'll give it the 3.5, 4, about the same.
Okay.
But
I'm surprised.
yeah, 88, definitely 4. 2023, yeah, 3.5 to 4 on the strength of the strong songs. Um, not a 5 mic album,
Okay.
but it is a classic. Classic albums do not have to be flawless to be a classic.
Say that again.
You know, it's just the problem with saying things are classics is people who are young are using it incorrectly because they're anointing things you can't, and I've said this on the podcast before,
say it again.
you can't have, there's no such thing as a modern day classic. You can't have a new classic. You, in every walk of life, a classic has been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
When people talk about classic cars, they're talking about the 40s and the 50s cars. Those are classics.
Not a car that just came out last week.
No,
Okay.
there is no electric classic car.
And this comes from a man who owns an electric car.
Yes, there is not a classic. When they talked about classic television, they were talking about the honeymooners
Right.
and stuff. Now you can start moving the '80s stuff into that. Now you can say, hey, Cosby was a classic, even though people shit on him now, or you can say that um, A Different World was a classic. You can say that,
Facts. Big facts.
um, but that's because they're like 30 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta still because people are still talking about them right now. People are like, damn, they should redo it with this person, that person. They still talking about the Wayne breaking up the wedding. They're still talking about it because it's classic. No one's gonna be talking about, listen, I know you love it.
Mm-hmm.
In 40 years, we're not gonna be talking about Franklin Saint.
Oh, I love that. I love it.
I know, but we're in 40 years, they're not gonna be talking about him.
There's a podcast coming. There's an episode coming.
In 40 years, we're not even talking about Weebay now.
I,
We're not
maybe,
talking about it like that. Now,
maybe.
if it wasn't for the GIF, we probably wouldn't be talking about him at all.
The GIF is all time.
Yeah, that's all time. That's a classic.
Right.
but what I'm saying is you gotta let things go for a
You
while.
got to.
Because some of the stuff that is dope right now, yeah, you'll talk about it maybe 3 years later, maybe 5 years later. It's like, yeah, because it's still fresh in your mind. But a lot of things, just because now listen, and I'm not gonna monopolize the conversation anymore. I also said this. This is also important.
Mhm.
Just because it's old doesn't mean it's a classic.
This is true.
So don't hear what I'm not saying. Just because something came out in 80, 88 don't mean it's a classic.
Nope.
Trust me. As much as Kyle want to tell me the Tough Crew dropped all these classics.
Hey man, the Tough Crew's tight.
It's just not the case.
Tough Crew's tight.
Yeah, man.
Philly's own.
Yeah, Philly's own. Like, Salt and Pepper dropped the Salt with a Deadly Pepper in '88. That's not a classic.
No.
It's not. It just isn't.
Yeah, according to you, Light as a Rock is not a classic.
It's not. Paper Thin is a classic song.
I mean,
but Light as a Rock is not a classic album.
I mean, we've discussed it. I mean,
Long Live the King, not a classic album.
Oh, now you're stepping on people's toes.
But he has about 4 or 5 classic songs on it.
Yeah, I think
In Control Volume 1, not really a classic album.
No.
But the symphony is a classic.
Oh, no question. And it's a favorite, and I think, when we talked about it before, being able to distinguish between favorites and classics. And something can't be a classic just because it's a favorite of yours. Mm-hmm. Just because the new Kendrick Lamar came out.
Dang.
It ain't a classic. And I mean, like, that album that you just yelled, if we're being honest.
No, I said Dame.
Damian
Lillard.
I thought you said damn.
It's Damian Lillard.
So, I mean, there you go, Damian Lillard. But yeah, man, I think this album, if I had to score it, I probably would have given it a 5 back then.
Of course you would have.
It's probably 4.5 now.
It's not 4.5.
For me, it is. But I will admit.
Can I get a witness?
I like that joint though, E. I'll admit, when it comes to this particular album, I'm extremely biased. I just am. I mean, like, and you guys who've followed this podcast and you've heard me and E talk about particularly the albums that have come out in 1988. I think some of these albums that we've discussed are some of the best groundbreaking, genre-shaking albums.
Listen to this guy.
Yeah,
he's a professional broadcaster right now.
I mean, hey man, I'm a professional, man. I'm a professional. I do this, but but everything ain't a. I mean, like we did the Biz Markie album. It's not a classic, but it is a dope album. And every album is not going to be a classic just because it's like to your point. It was 1988. It's a 35-year-old album. It is a solid album. Same for, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince's Parents Just Don't Understand. And E and I, we have more albums that we're going to talk about. But yeah, I love this album. This album is honestly still in my rotation. It is an album that I go to a lot. And as a big fan of Public Enemy, man, I keep it going. So I would encourage all of you, if you have not heard this album, when you finish listening to this podcast, do yourself a favor. Go back and listen to it. Download it, stream it, do whatever you got to do to it, YouTube it, whatever, and check it out. Make sure that, and he's going to tell you in just a second where you can listen to his podcast, but I'm interested to see where that song lands on the 50, because I think you're about at the time of this recording, you're about at what, 14, something like that?
Yeah. We're close.
Okay. So yeah, I'm interested to see where that joint falls. But before we get out of here, man, tell folks where they can find you, where they can hit you up on the social, where they can find your podcast. Plural.
Um, um, let's. Oh, what, before I tell you guys that another thing about Cold Lamping with Flavor.
Uh-oh.
What makes it the No More Music by the Suckers? That was Mr. Magic dissing Public Enemy, and they would just
That I did
replaying.
not know.
Yeah, that was him, and that's why he was like, "Yo, what you mean by suckers, man?" I don't know. That's just so dope. That was actually Mr. Magic dissing him. Anyway, you can catch me on the podcast circuit, Encyclopedia Hip Hop,
Mm-hmm.
and the Eclectic Discussion Podcast, um, Encyclopedia HH on Twitter, um, Eclectic Podcast on Twitter, at Eclectic on Twitter, at One Gotta Go on Twitter. Oh, also on Instagram. So they're
Mm-hmm.
they're, they're also on Instagram. So listen, you'll find me. The podcasts are all evergreen. So the hip hop podcast, we're talking about stuff that happened pre 97. So we got stuff dedicated to the women of hip hop, stuff's dedicated to the stories. We got some battle stuff. We got some where samples came from stuff. We got drafts with me and Kyle, I'm King of the South. There's a lot of things going on. And
Ain't no
so
damn king in no damn South, man.
100%
He
King of the
ain't
South,
lived. He ain't lived in the South since he graduated from Grambling.
where everybody is somebody.
Oh
So
my God, this guy.
if you if you want to come check me out, come check me out. And and we'll kick it. We'll kick it.
It's funny, man. I saw a lady at the grocery store the other day, and she had a Grambling t-shirt. She had a Grambling t-shirt on, and I said, "Hey," I said, "I like that." She was like, "Yeah." She was like, "I went to Grambling." I said, "Yeah, where everybody's somebody." She's like, "You know it."
That's right.
I was like, I ain't even tell her I went to South Carolina. I said, let me get on with it. Like,
Mm.
let me go over here and get my grapes and get the hell out of here.
You should have said, "G.S. You. I thought you knew, bitch."
Nah, well, she was a little older than us, so
She would have hit it. She would have hit it for
You think she would have?
in the fucking produce section, right by the bell peppers.
Anyway, man, y'all know where to find me. The 12 Kyle podcast drops every Thursday at midnight on every DSP that you can find. Also on YouTube. Thank you for watching. This video will be on YouTube as well. And from time to time, we drop bonus episodes on Sunday. So make sure that you download, subscribe. Make sure you tell a friend. Hit us up if you feel so inclined. If you got a couple of dollars, hit me up on Cash App. Pay your boy. Send your boy a couple of dollars. I got kids in college. $TWELVEKYLE. That's gonna do it for us. So again, man, for my boy Eclectic, I am your boy 12 Kyle. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back. 35 years later, right here on the 12 Kyle podcast. We'll catch you guys next time. 5 G's.